German education is very different from other countries outside of Europe. So how do exams work in Germany and how difficult are they compared to other systems? Is the workload crazy at German universities? As someone who went through the entire German education system and is now studying at the University in Munich, I'm gonna answer all your questions and tell you about my own experiences so you don't get any bad surprises when you actually study here. So at university, you're going to have a good mixture of modules and theoretical or practical courses. And inside of these, you will have a bunch of lectures and seminars where you usually sit down and learn from a professor. Then there are also tutorials and exercises which are in a smaller group setting and you work on exercises with a tutor and other students. For each of these in a semester, you will get credit points if you successfully complete them in the form of seminar papers, term papers or exams. It's like in a video game, you collect points and at the end, you will get your degree in Germany. And typically for a 6-semester bachelor's program, it's gonna be around 180 credit points. Credit points are not the same as grades in Germany, they just show that you completed a course. And if you fail a course, you won't get the credit points. We students usually want to get 30 credit points per semester. 30 times 6, 180. Quick maths. If you want to complete your degree within the standard period of study, well, in Germany it's going to be almost a full-time job. For each credit point, it is said that you need about 30 hours of work. Some people do it faster, others take a bit longer, and by the way, that's okay. But you'll need to balance attending courses, studying, your free time and your work. When it comes to the schedule, you might have days with no classes or just one, or you could have days packed until late evening. Some days are light, so you can breathe a little bit and recover, but other days are gonna be super busy. It's usually a good mixture of that. So about the workload in Germany, it really depends on the university. For example, if you study engineering or computer science at TUM, the Technical University of Munich, officially the #1 university in Germany, the first 2 semesters are gonna be brutal. Huge workload, a lot of knowledge that you need to cram into your head in a short period of time. It's gonna get a bit easier in the later semesters because you get used to it and find your rhythm. For example, I study computer science and design at the University of Applied Sciences in Munich, and in my case, we have a lot of semester projects and need to hand in submissions every week and do a lot of presentations during our semester. So there's always something to do. I made a bunch of videos about studying in Germany, check them out if you want. Once you arrive at the university, you will usually get your timetable and you can figure out if you have time for part-time jobs, for example. But in Germany, I can recommend you wait a couple of months to settle in before taking on any extra work, because in the beginning you really don't know how demanding the degree program is gonna be. So when it comes to exams, you can expect about 4 to 6 exams per semester. And in a master's degree, it's probably gonna be a bit less. You're gonna be taking exams either about a month after the semester finishes, or in case you fail it, which hopefully doesn't happen, then you'll get another try before the next semester begins. At German universities, there are oral exams, written exams, presentations, or projects, a whole bunch of stuff. And these are the most common ways in which you could expect to be evaluated for your final grade. You're usually given 3 attempts to pass a single subject. So if you fail an exam once, it's not that big of a deal. But try not to fail, it's not that great, especially if you have Asian parents. But it's good to know how each of these exam types is structured and what they expect from you as a student. So the first thing Germans love to do is presentations. Literally, you will have to do so many presentations here, maybe even more than you're used to from school. At German universities, they will include it whenever they can and you need to do them to get your credits. Yes, presentations can be actual exams. In my computer science and design degree, especially with the computer science part, you wouldn't expect many presentations, right? Wrong. Every other week we have some kind of presentation, usually in front of about 20 people to report our current progress in a project. The most serious presentations at the end of the semester, where we get the big grades, are in front of like 50 people. And the thing is, we actually have more important presentations than written exams. In most of my courses, if I want to get a good grade, I better prepare a killer presentation or I get my ass whooped by the professors and by my parents.
You're all failures.
Some people hate it, some people love it. Studying the knowledge and all that stuff is great, but having the ability to give a good presentation, being able to speak properly, will have so many benefits later on in life. I can recommend you take it seriously and put some effort into it. Because later in life, when you're already in your job and suck at presentations, life is gonna be tough. And this is gonna affect your career a lot and also what kind of promotion opportunities you get. Now, you might be an international or non-German speaker watching this, but don't worry too much, they will consider that you're not a native speaker. In my course, we also have a couple of non-German speakers and they are doing really well. So let's get to the real sauce, the written and oral university exams. These ones are famous for being brutal and hard, and unforgiving
and evil.
What I want to say is that they are different from the US system, for example. In the US, you often see these multiple choice tests and it's quite easy to prepare for them. But in Germany, the preparation for these exams is very different. Instead of relying on prep books for standardized tests like the SATs, we students need to really understand and master the subject from all sides. Exams at German universities, whether written or spoken, they need a lot of prep and understanding of the concepts. They don't ask for straight facts, but want you to use these ideas to solve specific problems. For some questions, you need to combine 3 to 5 concepts to find a solution. And the system here puts a lot of emphasis on deep knowledge instead of a simple test-taking strategy. This means exams are challenging, but if you pass one, it usually means that you have understood the topic very well. And also knowing the technical terms is really important. If the professor didn't properly cover them in class, it's good to do some extra digging and research to sound like a decently smart and knowledgeable person during the exam. How tough the questions are in a test mostly depends on how well you know the stuff, and also, that's very important, how the teacher designs it. I've seen really hard and really easy exams. A lot of it comes down to the mercy and the mood of the professor, unfortunately. But it's always clear that you can't just bamboozle everything and pass without studying properly. In a German exam, every single minute counts. You don't have much time, and the higher the quality of the answer, the better the chances are that you will get all of the points. They absolutely hate long answers in Germany. They want just a precise answer. So when it comes to the exam setting, they are often written and taken by a big group, sometimes over 100 students in different rooms. They make sure that there is enough space between everyone to prevent cheating, and supervisors are there to keep an eye on our students. And with this setup, you get a unique exam environment that you can't really replicate when you're at home. You need to actually experience it to know what it's like. And the cool thing is, there are some exams where you're allowed to bring one A4 size sheet. You know, a cheat sheet in which we can write any formula, any question, any answer that we want and which you think is important. But just one A4 paper. So you know, we try to write as small as possible and cram everything onto it. We can bring that one piece of paper to the exam and use it to look things up. And this again shows that the universities don't put emphasis on memorizing things. They want you to understand the topic, and if you don't pay attention and put time into studying, the cheat sheet with all the facts will not help you because the questions are designed in a specific way so that you actually need to understand the concepts. A lot of students get so excited that they can carry in a cheat sheet, or there are even exams where the professor puts all the formulas on the back of the paper. But these exams are usually the hardest, and you will see the unprepared students crumble. In my course, we had a math exam last semester and we were allowed to bring all our notes. I myself brought the entire 120 pages of the semester script with handwritten notes, and many other students did the same thing. Well, half of the students failed this exam. Now, to survive the workload and the exams at German universities, I have a couple of tips for you. And the first thing to be aware of is not to skip too many lectures. The first lectures are especially important because the professor will discuss the way of teaching, how he or she will go through the lectures, and what topics will be covered. And in the last lecture of the semester, they will tell you important topics you need to focus on for the exam. Don't skip lectures to go to work, for example. The money will come once you graduate and have a good skill set for the job. Good time management is the key here to balance your job with your studies. As the next tip, I can recommend you find a study strategy that fits you well and take notes or interact with the subject as much as possible, especially if you have written exams. Sometimes there is no gap between the exams. There is no holiday in between them to prepare. So if you take notes, they will be very helpful and they will also keep you updated. And this is very important. If your degree program contains math, you need to pay a lot of attention to it. In the first years of university, the highest failure rates are in mathematics. Math at university is usually different than the math you're used to from your high school times. A lot of students get really surprised. I was one of them. And 4, make a good choice. In Germany, there are 4 types of universities: classic universities, universities of applied sciences, colleges of art and music, and universities that specialize in dual studies. Understand the difference between the 4 and choose well. It's quite common for students to prefer one university over another because of how the courses and exams are structured. Don't forget to download the free Studying in Germany guidebook in the video description and join our huge Discord community. Love you and stay focused.